Jason J. Rock Houston. I'm coming to you live
Cotton,
from Los Angeles, California. Um,
it's
and this is
off.
for
Got
Chaotic Riff TV. Um,
it.
and our special guest today is guitarist, lead singer Doyle George Lytle from the band
Dale.
Angelus. Let me ask you, Doyle, you guys have been around.
Dale.
Dale, excuse me. Sorry about that. So let me ask you, Dale, the band Angelus has been around since I was reading 1977. I've always been reading up on the band. You guys
Yeah.
have you guys have kind of seen the rise and the fall of the LA rock scene, and you're still here. What's that been like for you?
Well, I mean, it's getting harder.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's a battle every day.
I'd say you guys
You
are
know, it's
rock and roll survivors, and I always thought that the band was named after being from Los Angeles, but it turns
yeah,
come to find
it
out you
is.
guys are actually named after the Angeles National Forest. Talk a little bit about
Right.
that.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
how did you decide to name the band of all things after the forest?
You know, our singer at the time, Dave Rodman, that we did our first three albums with, We're No Angels. It's our 40th anniversary next year of
Again,
that album.
yeah,
He was driving through the forest, Angeles National Forest, with a girl, and uh, she just said that's what you should name the band.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, so it was really this girl that I don't. He
sure,
probably
yeah,
doesn't even remember who it was.
yeah, yeah,
So she's actually the one that suggested it, and he came back and said it to me, and I said, yeah, sure, why not?
yeah,
And
and I
that's
think
all there is to it.
it's very fitting because like I'm sure a lot of people thought like maybe it's named after Los Angeles, it's where the band's from. And you mentioned you guys have been around 40 years. I mean, what a milestone, what an accomplishment. You've
Yeah.
been around just as long as Motley Crue and Ratt and all these other bands like
Right.
Dokken. And what was it like at the time? I'm assuming you've done shows with some of those bands.
Yeah, all
Yeah,
of them. I mean, except Dokken, we never played with them. We played with Guns N' Roses, Motley, Metallica, Quiet Riot quite a bit, The Bro, and Ratt all the time. Uh, we're playing with Betsy from Bitch. Um, uh, September 19th next year at the Whiskey A Go Go.
wow.
And we got the show, and then I asked her to come in and co-headline with us, as just like back in the 80s, because it would be, Angelus, Bitch, and Ratt, or, Bitch, Angelus, and Ratt. And we did a lot of shows at the Troubadour and the Whiskey, and it was a lot of fun. And there was one time where we were set to play with Motley Crue, a double bill. It was we played, and then they played, and then we played, and then they played, and at the Troubadour.
Yeah.
And we were doing the Whiskey the week before, and they all were there, except I don't remember Mick Mars being there.
Hmm.
And it was really, looking back at the time, we were just all friends and kind of enemies because we were all trying to make it,
Yeah, yeah.
and they had Motley had a lot of money behind them with at some point with Alan, when Alan jumped aboard, Alan Kaufman, and it was just normal back then. It was just we'd all hang out, and Jakey Lee, and we'd play each other's guitars, and
Yeah.
played with them and Dio, and San Diego, Miramar, and NTC, and one time it was a Sunday night in Northridge, California. Where are
Yeah.
you from?
I'm from specifically Long Beach was where I live, but yeah, yeah.
Well, I had a boat down there. I had a 60-foot Egg Harbor
Oh
in,
wow.
in, in Long Beach.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's cool. And so let me
yeah,
ask, you're the singer and the guitar player. Which came first? Did you start out like a lot of people as a guitarist and you became a singer kind of out of necessity?
yeah, exactly. Yep. I was. We moved from LA last 2 years ago,
Uh-huh.
August of 21, and moved to Missouri of all places. And it was a friend that I've known, used to come to all of our parties and bring the cocaine and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
all that crap, and back in the day, and we did a lot of backyard parties and all that stuff. And his name was Steve. I'm not going to say his last
Yeah.
name, but we're not exactly buddies anymore.
Wow, how
Um,
sad.
I mean, but he goes, yeah, come on, move to Missouri, man. It's really cool. And, all this, and sell your house, and you can make a lot of money and move here and buy one cash. And So I did, and come to find out, it was like 90 miles from KC, 80 miles from Springfield, or I don't even know. I don't want to remember much
Yeah, yeah.
about it. I don't like it. We were there 10 months. We came to Ohio to do a couple shows, right?
Uh,
And like I'm looking around for a rehearsal studio. There aren't none here because
wow.
there's basements,
Yeah,
duh.
yeah, yeah.
And I just never had to deal with anything like that. And we always in California, there was no basements, there were very few.
Sure, yeah.
And so we're here and we're like looking for a place, and we're at a motel, and we're trying to work in a new bass player for a couple of the shows. And we found I called the realtor, and Shirley
Right.
she Shirley Ryan, and we ended up buying this house
Wow.
with the basement, and then put our house in Missouri up for sale. We did our shows. We drove right back there, came right back here, and they made us a great deal that we had to sell our house within a year and all this stuff. And we did it, and we got the hell out of there. Now we're in Northeast Ohio,
Wow.
and there's a great music scene here. A lot going on, maybe too much, but it's
Yeah. That's kind of
yeah,
funny to think you guys got your start on the infamous, Hollywood rock scene back in the day. And
yeah.
Hollywood, even it's not what it once was. I mean, they still got the whiskey and the Roxy, but I'd imagine as a performer to go from that, and then you tell me you moved to Ohio and you say, hey, they got a great music scene here. I mean, that's just amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's it's a lot of cover bands here and tributes, which is pretty much all over. The tribute bands have really taken over. It's really, the last 20 years has been kind of pretty
Even out here
incredible.
in Los Angeles, that Vegas, everywhere, that's pretty much true. And the amazing
Yeah.
thing is, I know a couple guys that play in tribute bands, and one of them was telling me that even like to play the whiskey in places like that, the tribute band's got to do what's called pay to play, and they're still doing that.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. We
which
got a pretty good schedule lined up right now.
that's
We
pretty.
just got confirmed a couple more shows in Florida,
Yeah,
which is we're looking forward to it. We're in Florida on November 19th, and then like January 18th,
mm.
19th, 20th, and 21st. And I'm not allowed to announce who it's with yet, but we're doing a mini tour with somebody that's big enough.
Just
you
check out the website,
know,
follow the website and Facebook page and all that, and you'll get the
yeah,
latest
yeah,
news on
yeah.
Angeles.
Well, we're gonna be able to announce it. We're announcing it on October 21st.
Right before
Yeah.
Halloween. I love that. Now, let me ask you. You talked about the fact that you started out like a lot of people, just primarily as a guitar player. Now, did you always want to sing your songs? Did you always know you had the ability to sing, or was it a
No,
case of people just
no,
saying, "Hey, you got a pretty good voice. Why don't you just be the singer?"
I don't. My voice sucks.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look at like let's talk about the latest
It,
single. Just do it. I was
you
checking that
know,
out, the video
I,
before talking to you today, and the numbers on there are just crazy.
yeah, it's really weird because when I moved to Missouri, we actually found a singer that was down the street.
Uh,
17 years old, turned 18 right away. So he was basically 18.
legal.
He
Yeah.
had, he, he saw us moving in. So he came over. He was a big guy,
Mm,
came over to help us move in. And we got to talking and we're drinking and partying. I stopped
yeah.
doing blow, but
Yeah.
we were drinking and all that stuff and just having a great time. And I go, hey, you want to sing? He
Mm-hmm.
goes, I guess. So he started coming over every day and writing the vocals, the lyrics for a song a day.
Yeah.
And one of them ended up being, running like an outlaw, which I ended up redoing. And it was really cool. And then it just got weird. We went and played Colorado, and we opened for Winger, and we did a few other shows there. But the Winger show just went kind of crazy, and we got back, and we just kind of went nah, And so I was sitting there, and it's snow and it's cold, and it's not like California where you can go out and do something. And so I just went, I could do that. I
Yeah.
could sing like him.
Yeah.
He's got the first singer that I felt like running like an outlaw,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I'm like doing that. And then after a while, I started singing the other songs and then learning how to play, like Hell in High Hills. That was a bitch. That took me forever.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
Nothing But Love. That took me a while. There was a few of them that were pretty tricky to sing and play. The
yeah,
timing, you know.
yeah,
And that was my biggest hurdle, other than remembering the lyrics.
yeah,
I'm right now still studying because I wrote the lyrics, but I wrote the melodies and where to put them in the studio.
yeah,
So it's like, even though I wrote them and I went right in, so I didn't have memorized.
yeah.
And I'm quick in the studio. I've been doing it. I've done like 16 albums and CDs, and
Now, how big of a deal is it? Like you said, like you had other singers. So originally, when you wrote some of these songs, you wrote them with other singers in mind, and now
yes.
having to kind of adapt your voice to what the song is.
Well, it's kind of actually, Jason, been the other way around. It's kind of, I just write what I like. If I like it, then I present it,
Yeah, yeah.
and I record it, and then I present the thing. And I like Claire was our singer for like 3 records, Claire Diane, and I just gave her a concept,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like Killers of the Game. I told her kind of a concept for the
Sure,
whole record,
sure.
and that would be about it. I wouldn't go much further than that. I don't even know half the lyrics on our records. I don't know who it was. It was somebody that was saying the same thing the other day.
Yeah.
Chris Holmes. He was saying the same things. He didn't had no clue what the lyrics were. I
Well, he's
just,
not a natural singer, you know. Yeah, yeah,
it's not my job, and
yeah,
I know the hook,
yeah.
and I'm like going, okay. But that's a hard thing, is remembering the lyrics, especially at my age now.
Yeah,
I
sure.
just
I
turned
mean,
66, so
especially when
it's
you say it's not really your primary gift, which you would say maybe is your guitar playing. But look at a band like Motley Crue. A lot of people would be surprised to find out. They probably think Vince Neil. He's a singer. He must write all the songs. But take the time to look at the credits. Most of the songs are Nikki Sixx. He's
yeah,
writing like for Vince's voice. And
yeah.
and I would think too, being that you're a kind of a principal songwriter and you're one singing the songs now, it might also give you a little more of ability since you're a writer. You can sing it more from the heart than somebody that didn't write the lyrics.
And, I actually, if you've heard "Crimes of Insanity," it's our other single that's out now.
Okay, I
I
have to check.
mean, the feeling and the different lines I use and how I phrase them are pretty bizarre.
Yeah,
And not only am I having to learn the lyrics to that, but I'm having to learn the phrasing, because they're not so cut and dry as it's Just Do It.
yeah, yeah.
And there's more, like, it's about ghosts, so it's more like, all over, kind of like
Sure.
weird. And it's a really cool song. I love them both.
Yeah,
Um,
your vocals really fit the songs. I'm talking about "Just Do It" because I was listening to that today and kind of thinking, you know what, this the vocals I'm talking about and the song too sounds kind of a cross between Ozzy meets kind of Leonard Skinner, Black Label, and I
yeah,
think in a live
yeah.
setting, like I tell,
I don't hear it, but everybody says Ozzy meets Lemmy, Ozzy
yeah,
meets
yeah,
Zach Wild. So I'm hearing that. My wife had never heard Ozzy, believe it or not, until
yeah,
the other day. She was in the country before
yeah,
I married her 12 years ago, and the only thing she knows in rock, other than the Monkees or the Rolling Stones,
yeah, yeah,
is
yeah,
dancing.
yeah.
And I had her listen to it with Jake, in the van, and she was like, "Wow, I kind of hear it, but I don't, and I'm not sure if it's in my lips that I kind of have when my S's don't come out,
Yeah.
and my punctuation isn't always really
Yeah.
well, and so I don't know. It's like,
But it fits what you do. I mean, very much like
right,
Ozzy or Lemmy, not
right.
two of the world's greatest singers, but their voice worked for what they did. And you even go back to the early Sabbath. People also don't realize that Geezer wrote all those lyrics, not Ozzy. They kind of
Oh,
wrote
really?
this. Yeah, yeah. He
Oh,
talked a
okay.
lot about it. That if you get his book, I even heard him do interviews. Geezer talked about the fact that that's why when Ronnie joined the band, there was really no need for me to write the songs anymore. Um,
No.
but like most of the stuff was written by him and Tony. And
Yeah.
they would kind of split the royalties. You know, they give everybody kind of credit, but that's the fact of the matter. And even if you look at Ozzy's solo records, he surrounds himself with very talented other guys in the band for the most part, wrote the songs and everything, and he's just kind of the voice. And but it works for what he does, you know.
Yes, exactly. He does. And Ronnie was such a really good human being. I mean, we'd be rehearsing at Harlequin in Northridge, and I lived in Porter Ranch, and he would drive me home, we go to his house and smoke pot and Encino, and it was just a really good guy. I
Sure.
mean, really down to earth. He had 3 dogs, and they didn't have a big house at that time, but I guess Rainbow didn't pay him well, and
Yeah.
he didn't really start making money until he joined Sabbath,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they paid him well. He said that he got paid real well with Sabbath, and then when he went on his own as well, I'm sure that's when with Black Sabbath and Sabbath,
Deal. Yeah.
I mean, Dio, he started to actually get the money.
Big money. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I even heard the guitar player Craig Goldie, who was a guitar player in Dio for several years. He was talking about he used to be homeless before he was working with Ronnie, and he said that
yeah,
Ronnie produced like the first Rough Cut demo, and he was part of that band. And somebody stole his food that he had, and Ronnie just got pissed, and he bought Craig, his own like stash of food. He said, "This is Craig's food. You leave him alone. This is for him." you know.
yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
was.
I was homeless.
Yeah.
My mom was murdered when I was 19,
Oh
and
wow.
I took my guitar and I started hitchhiking. And with the Angeles kind of just started happening, and we just played a bunch of high schools for free at lunch. And she was murdered on a Sunday. We
Oh
played
wow.
Tuesday at Grand High School or North Hollywood High School, and I was up there playing, but I was, I cried the whole fucking
Oh, I'm
time,
sure.
but
Yeah.
I had to get up there and I had to do it because I know that's what she would have wanted. And so I had nothing. All I had was I found a place to live
Yeah.
in Sylmar with a
Yeah.
friend, uh, and we had wish sandwiches.
Yeah.
Yeah, like 2 pieces of bread with
Wow.
something you wish you had something in between. And so we were, I was homeless for years, and
Yeah.
the only place I lived was at her studios. Wherever we rehearsed, whatever, I lived at Harlequin for 2 years.
Yeah.
I lived at Doug Engel and me lived at Bushwhack that was
Wow.
owned by Ron Bushy and also Northridge. It was called Bushwhack Studios. And we lived there. I don't know. I lived there in the 80s when Bonham passed away.
Oh.
And Ron Bushy actually, I played in the Gata Vita with him at Devonshire Downs Outdoor Stadium. It was a show for Angeles.
Uh-huh.
And I just changed my clothes when I played with Ron. And
Yeah.
then I went and changed my clothes and put on my more rock star shit when,
Wow.
it
Yeah.
came out and we were Angeles. But yeah, I was just talking to Nancy just a little while ago, actually. She was on a plane flying from somewhere and we were texting. But yeah, she was reminded me. I knew I went to their house.
Yeah.
Ron's passed away since then,
Yeah.
and Ron Bushy. And she said I'd spent the night. I know I went over there to do a yard sale and help them out
Yeah.
because I was living for free at their
Wow.
studio,
Wow. Yeah.
and rehearsing there and all that good stuff. And she finally got in touch with me after 40 odd years. I mean, it's been
that's a great. I mean, it's not a great story, but I love the fact that somebody reaches out to you after 40 years. Which tells you you obviously made it some kind of impression on her.
yeah. Um, she's just been really cool. We talked for over an hour the other night. I just texted back and forth, and we got each other's numbers now. So I
I bet
just
you were
asked
like,
her like,
wow,
what's a good
40
time
after
to
40
call
years.
you?
Wow, thanks for reaching out. Yeah.
Yeah, she's really cool, and she got Ron. The drum set is in the Hall
Yeah.
of Fame here, about 60 miles from me, and so that's really cool. And I'm going to be announcing that on Facebook that it's there.
And
And
Dale, I'm sorry to hear
guys,
that I'm sorry to hear you had to go through
oh,
all that, in your life. But,
yeah,
as they say, maybe it made you stronger. And like I was saying, it's a top interview. I've read up a lot about this band. I've constantly I've seen stuff about the band just throughout the years. And that's why I say you guys are one of the survivors of the Hollywood rock scene. You're still out there doing it. You never made
Yeah.
it as big as Motley Crue and the Ratt and the Dokken, but you know what? You're still out there. Because there are a lot of bands that are in your position. You don't have to go out and make new music. You could probably, with 13 albums, go out and just kind of live on your catalog of music like a lot of other bands do. But I really got to tip my hat to bands like you that continue to pump out new music.
You know, we this is the first anyone knows that I go in the studio Wednesday. The music's already done. I'm gonna be laying down tracks for another song. It's called Raising Hell on the Sunset Strip.
Wow, wow. Yeah.
And it's gonna be on Curtain Call. I'm giving that one to John from Curtain Call. He's kind of convinced me into doing a documentary, which we're currently
yeah.
Yeah, we're putting we got quite a few people. We got Dee Dee from the Whiskey is going to be in it. Betsy is going to be in it. Doug Ellison, that was a singer for Snow with Carlos Cavazo, he's going to be in it. Bill Montoya from Metal Blade is going to be in it.
Wow.
I'm working on getting Chris Holmes, and somebody that we're playing with knows him really well because he moved to Italy. I don't know how to get in touch with him. I don't have his number anymore. I just remember running into him in Sun Valley, and a lot of times I'd run into him different places, you know, and I'd hear this Dale, and I'm looking around, and you know, and there's Chris, you know.
Wow.
And he's a cool guy, really down to earth people, you know, and he got fucked over real bad by Steve, you know, but you know, it's too bad, you know, people got to do that, you know, if you're making money, spread it around. Don't.
You ever do any shows with Hurricane back in the day? Because I asked because I recently got back together. I had a chance to entire the current lineup. They're a bunch of great guys, you know.
Yeah, no, we did it. We actually, Tony and I was dating this girl Robin first, and then he ended up being with her for quite a while. I don't know how long, but you know, we played with, you know, Carlos Cavazo. He'd come up. He came up at the we were doing the Troubadour.
Yeah.
And Kevin asked me to be in Quiet Riot, and he drove me to Frankie's house and Toluca Lake, and on Riverside Drive, and it wasn't a house, a condo or apartment, you know. And I just turned them down. We were doing well, and I had no reason to think otherwise. You know, I just personally just didn't. I liked the singer I had. I thought Dave was good. He had everything that, you know. So I said no, and next thing I know, we're playing the Troubadour. And we're in the upstairs dressing room on Santa Monica.
Mm-hmm.
And Carlos came walking in. He's got their first album. Mm-hmm. And it's not glued. There's no album in it. It's the whole, you know, thing. And he's like going, oh, here's our, you know, our good cover, you know, the front and back. And I'm going, okay, you know, you don't think nothing of it. It's like, all right, you know, that's cool. Yeah. And, you know, here it is years later, ended up turning out to be one of the biggest albums of all time.
Sure.
And just to think that, you know, I had the honor to be one of the first to see it, which, I mean, I remember kind of looking at it, but, you know.
Our album turned 40 years old this year. Now they're touring in support of that, celebration of it, you know, 40th anniversary. Yeah.
That's what we're doing. We're starting our 40th anniversary right now. We started next week in, let's see. Illinois. Where's my notes? Oh, here we go. I'm going to put on my glasses here for a second.
Yeah.
Joliet, Illinois. And then, is that a Stan's place, Connie?
Yeah.
You didn't put the venue. Fort Wayne, Indiana. And then we're playing with, which Jody's husband, Jerry, is going to be there. He's playing bass in Detroit with White Lion, the singer, Mike Tramp, on the 15th.
Yeah.
And then we're back in Toledo, Ohio on the 21st. and then we go into down November 19th. We're playing with not Final Frontier.
Deal.
Is it Frontier?
Yeah.
That guy from Anthrax,
Oh,
Joey Better.
Joey
I don't
Belladonna.
know any other artists.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know a lot of artists. I've never had a record player in my life.
Yeah.
I never had a place to play one.
Yeah.
I had an 8-track and that 8-track Craig 8-track
Sure,
tape
I
player.
know what you're talking about. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that my mom bought for me, and I had "Closer to Home" by Grand Funk, and I had I think she bought me the Eat Porpoise album cover, the
Wow.
album, because I liked it, but I never had a record player, and then she got killed, and I'm on the so that made me write songs.
Yeah.
It made me not listen to other people. The only thing I knew was what was on the radio,
Yeah.
nothing else. That's all I heard. And so every night or every day, I would sit there at the studio before rehearsal, before the party started, and we started putting the songs in. Every night it was a party, wherever we're rehearsing, and it made me sit there, and I would have to write something, or we would have nothing to play.
Sure.
So I kept having to write music, and that's how it started, and so it forced me into just being myself. I never sat there and copied any guitar player. I don't take after any guitar player. I stand alone. And
were there any players though you looked up to that you said, "Wow, I like what that guy's doing"? Or
I love Jimmy Page. For his, I loved his songs. I loved Led Zeppelin. I love Black Sabbath. My favorite band, my first band I ever saw that got me going in music was Grand Funk Railroad.
Oh, there you
Mark
go.
Farner. Yeah. And the energy those guys had on stage at the Anaheim Convention Center in 1969. At 12 years old, being dropped off by my mom, a riot broke out. They broke all the windows. They took all the poles. People were trying to
do it, right?
Yeah. What's that?
That's how you do it. Like, that's how you put on a show. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, Mark put on a show like there was no tomorrow, and I'm going, that's what I fucking want to do with my life.
There you go. Yeah.
And I just never looked back. I said, Mom, I want a guitar for Christmas. She got me one, a Fender Mustang at a pawn shop, and I just, that's all I did was play, and I'm kind of glad that, that forced me into having to write my own things and having my own style. And I'm thinking in Hell on the Sunset Strip, that song, I might do a little bit of no, I don't know. I'm not even going to say it because I don't know what I'm going to do.
Let people be surprised, but
I that's another thing I do. I create my solos. I do them in the studio when we're recording the song. I put it on, and you got these speakers. You're hearing your song for the first time. You got this great sound, and I just tell them to turn it up, and I play along with it. And whatever comes, I do 1 or 2 or 3 takes. But Crimes of Insanity is the first time that I did 13 takes in that song.
Wow.
And the guy, I told him to spend time and go back and pick out the bits and pieces and piece it together. And he did. And it could be a little louder, I think, in the mix. I think it's a little buried, but it's good. It works, And but I don't do that very often. Like we have a song called Hollywood. It was the first take. I mean, most of my solos are the very first or second take, and that's the way I like it. It's like what really comes from the heart right away. That if you guys sit there and practice all these things and try and just get badass scales and doing the Randy Rhoads thing and getting all the classical things all perfect. I'm not into that, bro. I just like to put feeling. What comes down in that studio? What magic happens? And it doesn't happen when you sit there and you go over these same classical licks for hours and getting them all perfect and go put them on the record. And that's not my thing.
You said about playing from the heart, as you say. I mean, I totally agree. There are these guys that are real great technical players, and they would never even think about like playing a bad note, and it's like, well, that's not technically precise, but you know what? The way, if you play it a little more sloppy, it might sound better. You just never
Yeah.
know. Yeah,
Well, you
yeah,
know what Eddie said. Uh, yeah, Eddie said in an interview, if he, I believe, or it was this, was I reading Woofy about Woofy? Yeah, it was Woofy. He told Woofy that if you hit a bad note,
yeah,
do it again, hit it again,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
hit it again.
And it's
You
so
know,
true,
if you hit a bad note, hit it again. And
you know,
people think it was
yeah.
meant to be. And
When you go to a live show, my thought has always been, if I want to hear it how it is on the record, I'll stay home and play a record. But when I
yeah,
go to a live show, I want to be entertained. I want it a little different. I want, like when you go see like Deep Purple back in the day, they jam out to one song for 30 minutes.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. You know, it's Led Zeppelin too.
yeah,
That's why Jimmy Page didn't want to replace Bonham, because they had that magic. They could do that.
yeah, yeah.
And that's hard to find. That's hard to get to where, you could just keep going and just jamming and then come back in. And they had magical moments.
I mean,
Really
they tried
magical.
a couple times. They got Jason Bonham, I think, which was fitting. But even like
Yeah.
when they did the Live Aid gig with Phil Collins, he got booed, and he wasn't John Bonham. As good of his drummer as
Yeah.
he was, it just was not the same.
Right.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And,
Yep.
and let me ask you the very last thing, and then I'll let you go because I know it's
Oh,
getting
that's
late
fine.
where
You're
you are. But you got these two great new singles. Are you working towards a new album, or you kind of do it
yeah.
the modern way, releasing a song at a time, and we get about 9 or 10 songs, we'll release a full length album?
Yeah. I was again the other day. I mean, I've probably watched more guitar players and saw more things on since I've been with YouTube and the phones. It's all over now. You can't help but watch what's going on. But yeah, I was watching Eddie Trunk, and he had John Five on there,
Yeah.
and John Five was saying that he's doing the same thing I am, and
Uh,
that's or I'm doing the same thing he is, but I'm not copying him. It
I don't
just
know.
I
That's a
looked at my
modern way
wife
of
and I
doing
said,
it. Yeah.
look at that. And yes, I'm releasing
Singles. Yeah.
the songs as they go as singles, and
Uh,
then when I've got about four more songs, and then the album will be done. I'm going to put On My Way on there. I'm going to put Running Like an Outlaw. I'm going to redo it because that's the first song I did vocally.
uh,
I've got highs now. I've got mediums now.
uh,
I've found my voice now. And
yeah.
that was the first one I ever did. And I didn't go nowhere with it. So I'm
Great.
going to redo my vocals on that, and then release a 10-song CD.
I'll just say it was
I
great
think
getting
it's
to
going
know
to
you
be
today.
called, what's that?
It's great getting to know you, Dale. We're going to get ready to wrap it up, but let's definitely keep in touch. And
Okay.
anytime you got anything you want to promote, you got a place to do it. I got another show I do called This Is Metal. I do with the co-host. I'd love to have you
Okay.
back there one
It's
day.
been
So
great.
let's definitely keep in touch. You got a
All
new
right.
fan in me, a new follower, and
Great.
anytime you got a video or anything, let me know. We'll post it up on our site for people to follow what you guys are doing. Okay.
Thank you very much. And angelusband.com is our website, and Angelus Rock Band is our Facebook, or just Google Angelus Band,
Yeah.
and that's it.
And
So
then I just
thank
tell
you for
people,
having me.
go and read up on the band's huge history on Wikipedia. You will be amazed.
Which one?
Wikipedia, it's just kind of the
Oh,
history of the
yeah,
band,
yeah. Well, Wikipedia, right. Yeah.
Take
Thanks
care.
for having me, guy. Thank
Anytime,
you.
Dale. Bye bye.
Thank you, Jason. Bye bye.